Okay. All right. I guess we can get to the Rob Reiner children versus parents. Ephesians 6:4. Do not what's how's it go? Ephesians. Let's go with the parents first. Yeah. Ephesians 6:4. Basically, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Now, what Lord you serve is totally up to you and your household. I don't judge anybody. Okay. So this is where we're at right now. Okay. All right. So this Rob Reiner case is so wicked right now. It's all over the place. So we got three narratives with Rob Reiner. Rest in peace to him and his wife. We have three theories with Rob Reiner. The first one was he's on the Epstein list, and that somehow this was a play to take him out because whatever. Just hear me out. The first one was he was on the Epstein list. The second one was clearly his son had issues, right? Clearly his son had issues. And I forget the third angle I was going to present to y'all, but right now, we'll just do two angles. We'll do two Rob Reiner angles. Just take everything, and I mean everything I present with a huge grain of sea salt. So let's get backstory right now. Let's do backstory between him and Nick. So now the family is chiming in, saying, hey, the parents. It basically was a gator. Basically, Nick Reiner, respectfully, was a gator. Well, who's gator? Watch Jungle Fever. That's what we have. And I hate to say this, but man, if your kids are gonna have issues, whether it be gender identity or drugs, or I think druggy kids are the worst to have, because you never know when they're gonna revert back to their old ways. I would rather deal with a gay kid or a sexually reckless kid than ever have a druggy kid. A druggy kid, they're like the Dobermans back in the 80s. You just never know when they're going to snap. You understand? I think having a druggy kid is probably the worst as a parent, financially, emotionally, physically. You are in harm's danger if they ever revert back and they're having withdrawal symptoms and they need a fix, whatever the case. You are the first one that's going to get it. You understand? So there's a lot going on with Rob Reiner. And then the South Park episode. Oh my God. So let's go here. Let's go back when they did the movie For Charlie, based off of Nick's life, right? And then of course Trump said what he said. Trump, listen, if you sit here and you don't think Trump has some form of dementia or all early onset of Alzheimer's, I don't know what to tell you, because the things this man says out of his mouth is unreal, and everybody's too scared to check, which is insane. Okay. Let's go back to 2016. They did a movie back in 2015. It's called For Charlie, right? The interview sees the father and son discussing their collaboration on the 2015 Being Charlie, a project inspired by Nick's own struggles and experiences with heroin addiction. It's probably the worst drug to be hooked on, heroin, y'all. Not like coke, not even like crack, but heroin is a nasty drug. Right? Addiction and homelessness. It's by far the most personal thing I've ever done. He revealed that going over the things Nick had experienced and how he and his mother had related to it forced me to have to see more clearly and understand more deeply what Nick had gone through. What I guess my question would be for parents that have druggy kids. At what point do you say enough is enough? Because what the family members are saying, that the mother, his wife, was like, we're done. I'm done. And then fathers with their sons is like, come on, give him one. So it's from what they're saying, the mother she tapped out. She was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with him. Right? We'll get to all that. Okay. It definitely brought us closer together. It was like over a period of a year, and it was intense. It was difficult at times, but it was also the most satisfying creative experience I've ever had. So let's go here, okay? We're not gonna go over the whole thing. I just want to go over a couple things.
They say you only have a year to live. Do it sober.
I can listen to you tell me what a drug addict I am. Be careful. I'm one of your constituents now. You wouldn't want to lose the governor's race by one vote. You can either head back to treatment or live on the streets. It's your choice.
Charlie, you think your dad's gonna know about any of this when he's elected? No, he's gonna be in Sacramento doing his governor's race.
Oh, what, you taking their side?
Right, you're right. Go shoot up, prove everyone right. Just stick it out for 30 days.
Being an outpatient comes with more freedom, but more responsibility.
They're still group though, right?
Every day.
You think he'll stay? He has no choice.
Hey, you making a break for it?
Friendship during sobriety, not a problem. Romance, however, tends to get in the way.
You can look, but you can't touch.
When you went to rehab, you get strip searched. And if I had known that that would be the last time that anybody would touch me, I would have tried to enjoy it more.
All right, you're done.
You were funny, man. You got something.
Also, this final season of Bel Air, we had the finale with Carlton finally licking his addiction issues. You know, okay, let's continue.
It's not for everybody. It's for you.
You know, it would be so great right now. Drink.
If you continue to refuse to accept the disease that put you here, you will continue to be a repeat offender.
Don't you mean repeat customer?
I love it. I love it. I don't love it. No.
You've had plenty of choices, John. Rehab or jail. You know, quite a wide selection there. One of us had to keep him safe.
For him or for you?
I can't stay here anymore, okay? This place is like a prison.
It's not even close. But don't worry. If you're not dead, you'll probably end up there anyway.
Okay, so this is the trailer for the movie based off of Nick Reiner's experience. Okay, so let's go here.
It's based, loosely based. It's not exactly a documentary, but it is loosely based on, you know, things that Nick went through and his relationship to me and his mother. And you can talk a little bit more about it, Nick, if you want.
These are like the WWE microphones with it. Yeah.
Do you want to take it up to that level now?
I don't know. I've seen a lot of Monday Night Raw, so.
Should we just not talk about the movie and just start trash talking each other really loudly with these microphones?
We could talk some smack, but I don't know. What was the question?
Well, I mean, I guess the question
How
is,
personal the movie is.
It's a personal project for you guys, but it's also, as much as you might have lived some of the experiences that are in this movie, you have to tell the story, you have to write the script, you then have to make the movie. How much did you find that you had to sort of compromise what was personal for you and what told a good story and vice versa?
The last part you just said is important because it's like you do have to realize that there are some good things from your life and whether or not you want to include.
Mind you, you look at him, you listen to him, you would have never suspected he had a drug addiction. I mean, look at him. Listen to him. You would have never suspected he was battling demons, the heroin demon, right? You never would have suspected.
Them. And I wasn't really that shy about including some of the bad stuff I did because a lot of people do things that are pretty unsavory when they're going through that. But in terms of making it a narrative, of course, it's not my life, but it needs to be constructed into a story. But I think I can relate to it, of course, and I hope other people can relate to it.
Did you guys have trouble at all when you first started writing the script? Because I imagine you were working hand in hand with him to develop the story and write the script. When it came to sort of what to use and what not to use and what parts of your life made a good story and what parts didn't make a great story?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the thing about a film like this, and it's by far the most personal thing that I've ever done, is that, and you don't set out to have a cathartic experience or you know, this will be therapeutic in some way, but the fact that we were dealing with, you know, things that Nick had gone through and how I had related to it and how his mother had related to it, it forced me to have to see more clearly and understand more deeply what Nick had gone through. And I think it forced him to see things that I had experienced during this process. And it definitely brought us closer together. I mean, it was like over a period of a year. It was intense. It was difficult at times, but it was also the most satisfying creative experience I've ever had.
What was the most difficult part about working together for the two of you? I mean, I have trouble working together with my dad on yard work, let alone, you know, a 2-year movie.
Well, what kind of yard work do you do?
That could be where it lies. I don't like raking, you know.
Well, there you go. You got some negative going in. What did you think? What was the toughest for you? What do you think, Nick?
It wasn't very tough. I mean, it was a pretty nice experience for me. I don't really think it was like tough at all.
Really?
I mean, of course it was a little bit, but.
I mean, we did get into fights over things, but ultimately it forced us to make the film better. I mean, you know, we get into issues, and I would see, you know, the whole process for me, I can just speak for myself, it did make me understand him a lot more, and I think it made me a better father. Hopefully it did. I don't know, but I think that, and you'll see it in the film, what happens is, you know, if your kid is going through rough times, you know, the parent your main job is to keep your child safe. So I would do anything. I felt at a loss. So I would do anything that, as we say in the film, anybody with a desk and a diploma, I would listen to them. And the whole idea of tough love and you have to be a certain way. And it's not my nature. It's not the way I am built, but I went and did that, you know. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, I know my child better than an expert does. And I probably should have trusted my own instinct.
So he did it wrong. According to his words, he approached his son's drug addiction the wrong way with the heavy-handed, stern parenting, you know, militaristic style of dealing with it. Just what I'm getting from what he's saying.
And that's one of the things I did learn about the whole experience.
I think the bonding came not from the story itself, but from the fact that we were working on a movie together, and I could see him in his, I would think, in the form that he can express himself the best, which is making movies because he has so much experience. And so seeing that sort of turned me around to be like, okay, I should probably...
No, sorry, I'm responding.
I should probably shut up and listen to him because he knows a lot more about this. He knows I don't know anything, so I'll learn whatever he has to teach me.
I just think that's such a fascinating thing to say, that like your father, who you would always want to be at his best as your father, may be a type of person who's at his best when he's making movies, and that makes him more understandable or relatable as a father to you, which is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, it really clicked for me because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I like basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like he really knows a lot, and like it made me feel closer to him and be like, yeah.
You're like, wow, my dad's Rob Reiner.
I never had thought about it, and then
Yeah, it didn't cross your mind, right?
Never.
No.
Never watched A Few Good Men. Didn't see that one.
No. But
Okay. Watching this interview makes it even more just sad, man. So now let's get into all the theories surrounding Rob's and his wife's passing. Going to do. Okay, so now let me pull it back. So that was 9 years ago. And then people are like, really, we're in the comments like, no, Rob's really, he's a prick and all this and that. And I'm like, how, what? So just bear with me, y'all. Where is it? Okay, so let's go to South Park. Make of it what you will, y'all. This is the Rob Reiner episode, right? Or the parody.
My goo! My precious goo!
All right. There's that. Nasty work. This is not, I mean, the sad part is none of this is funny. At all. It's not funny to me. I don't think it's funny, but still. Okay, let me go pull it back. All right, let me X out of that. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, is this it? Okay. All right, here we go. All right, looks like Rob Reiner's son was manipulating his parents for a long time. They sided with their son over the addiction specialist who explained that he was lying to them and manipulating them. Rob even apologized to his son for demanding he shape up. Okay. Even declaring he'd put up with his son hating him if it meant he wasn't dead. In another interview, Rob said tough love wasn't for him and he would do anything to keep his child safe. Rob was a man whose kindness and love towards his son was ultimately rewarded with a slit throat. Okay. Once again, if you have druggy kids, probably the worst experience you can have as a parent with a child. I would rather have the gay child or the horror child than a druggy child. Because a druggy child, you're gonna end up taking out. You're gonna be the end result of all that frustration and all that addiction and the coping and the back and forth. And I God bless parents that stuck through their kids with their drug addictions, but they're just like a Doberman from the 80s. It's one day. You're just waiting to see when they're gonna snap at you, right? Okay, come on. So let's see here. Let's see. The Reiners who live in LA. The program works for some people, but it can't work for everybody. When Nick would tell us it wasn't working for him, we wouldn't listen. We were desperate, and because the people had diplomas on their wall, we listened to them. This is an excerpt from that interview we just watched, right? To them when we should have been listening to our son. Michelle added, we were so influenced by these people, they would tell us he's a liar, that he was trying to manipulate us, and we believed them. Okay. The climactic scene in which David apologized to Nick for being cruel and pushing his son towards recovery. I'd rather you hate me and you be alive. Okay. Nick shared that he was first sent off to a rehab around his 15th birthday and refused to go back multiple times after that. If I wanted to do it my way and not go to the programs they were suggesting, then I had to be homeless, he said. Okay. Rob said in reflection of that difficult period on Build series, the whole idea of tough love and you have to be a certain way, it's not my nature. It's not the way I'm built. If your kid is going through rough times as the parent, your main job is to keep your child safe. So I would do anything. All right. Once again, I would rather have the whore or the reckless or the gay child than a druggy child. Sorry. Drugs is just, you can't control that. That's too many different variables. You don't know when it's just the day they're going to relapse. Like, who wants to, not me. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. Here's some quotes from Rob Reiner's sons in a 2018 podcast. This was 2018, right? Okay. Welcome Nick onto the podcast by calling him a total train wreck and a good friend of the podcast. At the time he called in, Nick confirmed that he wasn't sober as he was smoking a little weed and taking a little Adderall, but that he wasn't back on heroin. But he did share that a year and a half before the appearance, he was back on dope and other things, and it led to a medical emergency. Long story short, I wound up having a cocaine heart attack, Nick revealed, adding that the health scare came during the intervention as he was traveling across the country. Passed out on the plane. He woke up in the hospital in Boston. After that, he moved into a detox facility and later a sober living facility in Maine, where he was happy for a stint until he got homesick. I didn't just want to be away from home, and I just wanted to come back home. I just wanted to get back to my old life of like smoking weed, kind of taking some pills, like doing whatever I wanted. I knew that if I had started to do it back in Maine, I wouldn't really be able to do it right. I knew if I smoked once or if I took a pill, they would send me to some treatment. I saw that happen with a ton of kids there, so I was smart about it. So I just stayed sober long enough till I could go home. Okay. So not only is he a spoiled brat, he's entitled, highly manipulative, and he had no intentions of getting well. He didn't want to really get well. Druggy kids are the worst kids to have, man. God bless you if you have a druggy kid. Okay. And then everyone starts chiming in with their own issues with their own kids, with the kids' drug issues. Like this is crazy as hell. Okay, so let's continue. Now let's get back to this person says, look here. This person says, I'm a recovering opiate addict, 12 years clean and sober now. I know all about manipulating my family. I feel blessed they gave me an ultimatum to get help. It saved my life. Okay. They gave up on tough love because they fell for the son's BS, that it wasn't helping him. He lived on the streets instead of rehab to try to spite his parents. In other words, they trusted the son over common sense. Enabling a loved one who's in active addiction is the worst thing you can do for them. And I'm a recovering addict. I definitely needed tough love. And even then, it still took years for me to hit my bottom. However, if your loved ones are still enabling you, then you'll never hit. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. At some point. Couldn't do it. Not a druggy kid. Okay. Let's continue. So let's go here. This person says, multiple stab wounds are not incidental violence. They are not random. They are not quick. Forensically, stabbing is one of the most personal and emotionally charged forms of homicide. It requires proximity, sustained force, repeated motion, and intent maintained over time. Each wound represents a renewed decision to continue. Unlike a firearm discharge, which can be instantaneous, stabbing requires commitment and persistence. That is why forensic pathology classifies it as intimate violence. When two elderly parents are stabbed to death, the implications are even clearer. This is not a burglary gone wrong. This is not accidental escalation. This is rage-driven homicide. It indicates personal animus, emotional intensity, and often a relationship or ideological fixation. The act requires the killer to remain present while the victims are conscious, defensive, bleeding, and suffering. That matters. From an educated forensic standpoint, investigators look at wound count, wound location, depth, defensive injuries on hands and forearms, pattern consistency, and sequencing. These elements tell a story of how long the attack lasted, whether there were pauses, whether the assailant re-engaged after incapacitation, and whether the violence was symbolic or expressive. In cases like this, the evidence overwhelmingly points to expressive violence, violence meant to punish, erase, or dominate, not merely to kill. So why leave it out? Because acknowledging the brutality forces uncomfortable questions. It destroys the attempt to frame the event as an abstract tragedy rather than personal evil. It invites scrutiny of motive, ideology, mental state, and relational context. It undermines the preferred posture of moral distance and curated grief. Public statements often speak of death instead of murder and loss instead of slaughter for a reason. Okay? Sympathy turns into accountability. Mourning turns into demand for truth. This pattern is not new. When violence is ideological, inconvenient, or socially destabilizing, institutions soften the language. They focus on the legacy, values, and abstract goodness while stripping the event of its physical reality. The blood is erased, the terror is erased, the victim's final moments are erased. But forensic truth does not disappear because a statement avoids it. Two parents were not simply lost, they were violently, personally, and intentionally killed. That fact alone tells you more than any curated MSM tribute ever will. And the omission tells you just as much about the speaker as the crime tells you about the killer. I'm going to assume that Rob took the most of the brunt of that attack. I'm going to assume that he got more knife wounds, more stab wounds than his wife. I'm going to assume that that was the case. Okay? I'm going to assume Rob took the brunt of that. Okay? Okay. Hey. This person says here, I was on a jury for a stabbing murder. Make no mistake, the images of the victim's wounds and his actual clothing will never leave my mind, and I was at arm's length from the incident. Okay? Most humans have a hugely strong reticence to plunge a sharp object into another living creature. It takes some gravitas to stab somebody. It really does. Okay? Look at this here. I lost my godparents in 1994. Their 31-year-old grandson came into their room while they slept and took a baseball bat to both of them. Brutally smashed their heads. The blood and brain splatter was everywhere. The forensic scientist said that the blunt force trauma and rage was so intense to send all of them that on the walls and ceiling, all because they wouldn't give him money to buy cocaine. These two beautiful souls were very well loved physicians in Baltimore and loved so much by me. He got life in prison, but it will never be enough. The rage and mental demonic emotions to do this to anyone is barbaric. Okay? Okay. See now, this is where some people come back and clap at Rob. Rob was a mean and nasty man. We all saw him constantly call for violence against Trump. And I can only imagine how the rage, I seen the clip, what he said. That's not what he said. But people are going to take away what they want. Okay? Listen, I noticed that use of softened language with the murders in Australia and at Brown University as well. Okay? Yeah, this is very well stated. Very well stated. Okay. Let's keep it going. Sad all the way around.